Okay, have you heard the term law and order lately? Well, if not, maybe you've been held hostage by the nut jobs in Seattle who took over 6 city blocks and declared they were an autonomous country called CHAZ. And then they renamed themselves CHOP. Hey, you're not very organized if you can't even stick with a name for 2 whole weeks, okay? But before I get to an explanation of what law and order really mean, can I just tell you that the nonsense of a mob taking over a big chunk of a city and having a leftist lunatic mayor describe it as a festival, like a potluck gathering or the summer of love, that should never have happened. And why the people of Seattle or any American city tolerate such incompetence in their elected officials is beyond me. If these anarchists declared they were autonomous, then the city should have simply turned off all the electricity, water, sewer, gas, phone, cable TV, and internet, and electronically blocked cell signals in or out of the area. Stop any deliveries of any kind. Because if they're really autonomous, they ought to be able to supply their own utilities, infrastructure, commerce, and food production. And if they can't do that, they're about as autonomous and independent as my 5-year-old grandson when he announces he's going to leave home. But not until he gets dinner, has a story read to him, and gets tucked in for a good night's sleep. Really running away. Clearly, Seattle is missing some law and order. But those aren't just words. Law means we agree as citizens that we will establish through our elected representatives a social contract to define what's proper and acceptable behavior. We create laws that prohibit murder, theft, rape, armed robbery, and burglary, but also restrict the use of drugs or alcohol, set limits on the speed we can drive, and even determine when our kids have to be in school. Law is what we determine to be the reasonable standards of our community that we should be expected to live by. It's kind of like the rules that we learned on the school playground, but maybe the rules for adults. At least it's supposed to be adults. Order means we actually follow those laws and we establish consequences upon those who refuse to obey them. Now, there can be no order without law. One can only be held accountable when one knows the expectation. And there can be no law that doesn't insist on order, which is the compliance of the people to accept the rules as a condition of living with personal liberty. Order comes with the protection afforded those who voluntarily live their lives respectful of the rights and the liberties of other people. And without law, it's every man for himself. It's doing whatever feels good, even if it's destructive to other people or their property. And without order through the enforcement of law, which is forced compliance to those standards, there's no point in having a law. Without those two foundations, it is only a matter of time before there is a collapse of any semblance of government and a revolution is underway. That's why it's important. Now, if you want more videos like that one, hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell right next to it. And if you leave a comment, positive or negative, I'll be sure that my dog Toby sees it and responds to you in kind.